Now, I've been seeing some criticism floating around about this movie, people saying that it's not relatable and they can't see themselves in it. And I've got to say, I completely agree. Bring back the old relatable Pixar and those stories where I could really see myself in them. Those stories about monsters, inanimate objects, cars, rats, and insects.
It's gonna be me.
Pixar's latest, Turning Red. It is the feature directorial debut of Domee Shi, who you might remember brought us the short film Bow a few years ago. And that was a really, really beautiful short film from Pixar. I think it was a little divisive, but I really enjoyed that. And I was really excited to see what she could bring to this one. And Turning Red tells the story of May, a 13-year-old girl who is growing up in Toronto in 2002. So it's very specific to the director's childhood, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think specificity can kind of breed universality, and you can think this is one person sharing their experience, and I think we can find a lot of ourselves and a lot of our own experiences within other people's experiences. I'll stop saying the word experiences so much. So yeah, May, she has a Tamagotchi, she's obsessed with a boy band, she has a tight-knit group of friends, and really, really controlling parents. One day though, May finds herself with an even bigger problem. Whenever she gets too excited, anxious, or nervous, she turns into a giant, thinly veiled metaphor for puberty. I mean a giant red panda. Pixar have been doing a lot of this lately. They've been doing a lot of movies where people turn into stuff, like Soul, he turns into a cat and a disembodied soul, and Luca, where it's sea monsters turning into humans. So they've been using a lot of these sorts of creatures as metaphors for things like identity and growing up. And I think what Turning Red does with its metaphors is really, really strong. I won't go into the whole plot and what it all means, but it is about puberty and it's about growing up. And I thought it was really, really candid in that regard, especially in telling a story about a female childhood, because, you know, there are direct references to periods and pads and stuff, which is, you know, you would not have seen that in a Disney film 5 years ago. 2 years ago, probably. I'm surprised they let it happen in this one. But yeah, it's a really honest story about growing up. And it is aimed at that audience, you know? The characters get giddy over stupid things and they obsess over boy bands and inconsequential things. But when you're a kid, that's the stuff that's really important to you. And it's a film that really, really gets that. And the beautiful animation style really complements that. And there's definitely some Studio Ghibli inspiration here in the animation. There are some really like heightened moments. There's like May has like a really big mouth when she gets excited. There are some really, really beautiful shots that look like paintings. And that's one thing I really loved about Turning Red, the animation style. I think it is really beautiful and it goes to some places in the third act, like some really, really visually interesting places. And I was just having an absolute blast. The idea of trying to find a middle ground with an oppressive family isn't new territory for Disney and Pixar, but I think Turning Red does it really well with some really heartfelt performances from Rosalie, Chiang, and Sandra Oh. And special shout out to my man Orion Lee, who was an absolute delight as May's father in this. Even though it is set 20 or so years ago, I think this is a film that's still really going to appeal to that teenage demographic. And I think adults like myself can find a lot to take away from it as well. I watched it with my sister and we remarked that, yeah, this probably would have been your favorite film ever if you saw it when you were 13. So if you have kids around that age, definitely it's a great one to watch with them. And I think for girls especially, there's a lot of stuff in here that could actually make the idea of growing up seem a little less scary. As for criticisms, the only real thing for me is that I wish it had slowed down and let the characters breathe a little bit more. It's very, very fun, humorous, and entertaining, but the pace of the narrative is really, really breakneck and it's so energetic and everybody's constantly talking and shouting at you. And it's mostly a delight, but there are times where you think, all right, this is a lot to take in and I kind of wish we could slow down and have some more small tender moments, but that's a pretty minor quibble. And I think Turning Red is one of Pixar's better efforts in recent years. I think it stands probably in like to the middle slash upper tier of their body of work. And I am going to give Turning Red a 7.5 out of 10. I really liked it a lot more than I was expecting to, and I think a lot of the criticisms I'm seeing of it have been kind of unfounded. It's a delightful film, and I think everyone can find something to enjoy with this one. So that's it for my review of Turning Red. Thank you very much for watching. More reviews incoming, as always. Follow me on Letterboxd, follow me on Instagram, links in the description. Say good day in the comments. What do you think of Turning Red? And as always, have a great day. Watch some movies.